All right. We've been waiting for one of these reaction videos. Um, I did not have Wildhack beating Red out the door, or us doing a Wildhack end of the era video before we did a Red end of the era video. But here we are.
Seriously, I will say I have been trying to. There's been a funky news situation about his contract for a while. Like his contract was it was like basically ending in mid 2025, and there was never really an announcement on what happened with that. And I guess here's our resolution with this: is that he's retiring here in July 1st.
Big news. John Wildhack, end of an era. Let's get into it. You're watching Domed in Cuse, the quick hit podcast for real Orange fans. If you love Cuse sports, hit like and subscribe. John Wildhack has retired effective July 1st, 2026.
I'm pretty pumped. I have to say it. I think this is it is the day we finally just changed the guard here at Syracuse from the Kent Syverud, John Wildhack kind of led coalition there. We can finally turn the page. And what I just have felt like has not been, it really has been the worst tenure that I can remember in Syracuse sports. And I think it's really time that we turn the page. So
let's dive into that right there, though. I think that's a great place to start. Wildhack has been at Syracuse now for 10 years. He joined us after being at ESPN as a TV executive. I think we both agree that it was probably the worst 10 years of sports at Syracuse. In terms of the way our programs have gone. And I don't fully attribute that to just him, because I do think Kent Syverud, as you mentioned, played a really, really big piece in that. And I think he did a disservice. I think he was one of the worst chancellors we've had. I think he did a disservice to the university. If you look at the rankings in the university under Kent, the school's down, admissions are down, the quality of applicants is down. The party and the fun of the school is down, and the sports are down. And as alumni, I think we both agree those are the only things we really care about. I mean, it is the entire school that we just pretty much mentioned, but those are the things that as alumni we care about. Like, we want people to come to the university and have a great time. I think one of the things for both of us that we reflect back on our time at Syracuse with fond memories of is I think both of us grew into men there, right? And we came as boys and we left as men, kind of cliche. And I want everybody to get the chance to do that at Syracuse. And part of that is partying and having fun and learning how to manage, having a great time and doing well in school and all that. And that's a big part of being an adult once you're in the working world, right? Like managing how much fun you have and managing, being serious about your career and your job. So that Ken completely failed on. The academics are in the toilet as far down as Syracuse has been in 50, 60 years as an academic institution, which is sad to see. There's been admissions mess, so much so that there was a write-up in the New York Times last year around acceptances and Syracuse having to play games to try to get people to come to the school, right? And then on top, the cherry on this shit Sunday that he's really given us, the sports have been terrible. And that's not all on Kent, but Kent didn't prioritize that, and Wildhack didn't exactly do a good job keeping that from happening.
I totally agree. And again, I think, look, I've been hard on Wildhack. I am very hard on him, and I have a long list of reasons of why, and I'll get into like a list of things that happened during his tenure, but he wasn't alone in this. And like Kent was, honestly, I do believe the biggest problem, particularly is what we're discussing, right? The sports end of things. Like, he was an inhibitor. He didn't care about the revenue generation sports, really the iconic symbols of the school and the programs. And it was sad. He really kind of just let atrophy really wear it away in a number of our key programs. And I don't think Wildhack did a good job trying to, frankly, sustain any sort of level of success and stand up right? Like, I don't think he was a proactive leader. That, I think, is like his biggest indictment.
Not a strong leader either.
No, and I think that is frankly what this era was just symbolized by, right?
Marred by, you know?
Nobody was on the same page. There was no clear vision. There was no clear leadership. There was nobody standing up and saying, this is how we need to do things, and doing it at a time when we could have gotten ahead or even on pace with anybody. And it's been a frustrating 10 years as a Syracuse fan. We've had some small highs, right? Like some momentary kind of flashes in the pan, it's felt like, on really the football and basketball side. I think it's just, like I've said, I think it is a good thing that we are going to be heading into a new era. But yeah, I don't know, just to get into it, man, like,
well, so then let's just say, in July 2016, Wildhack was announced as the 11th director of athletics at Syracuse, obviously his alma mater. He replaced Mark Coyle, who only spent 11 months here before he left for University of Minnesota. And Wildhack then, I think some of the biggest stuff that he had, so let's just talk about some of the biggest stuff that he had. He secured $118 million investment from the university to renovate the Carrier Dome. Can I be honest? He did a good job with that. That is the one thing I'll give him credit for.
Renovation is a good job. He did a good job. Also, we have an athletic department that generated tons of revenue for years, and the school provided funding back for the renovation. Right? Like, that's what an athletic director does. Seriously. Fucking UMass football just raised $30-something million for their football stadium. Like, I know it's not the same amount of money, but they're the worst Division I football team, right? Like, it's doing its job.
He also, as an ESPN obviously executive, was a big piece of the ACC network and the ACC network extra. So all that stuff that goes on at the ACC network and online. And then he donated in 2020 $1 million to Syracuse Athletics. And we both like to be balanced, right? We like to be balanced. We like to be positive. And those are the positives. And yes. I think if you look at that as the positives, we'll add one more. He hired Fran Brown. That list of positives is pretty light compared to maybe some of the downfalls of his tenure. And now I'll turn it over to you to get into that.
Yeah, even just so we can clear it up, so there's no one who can even bash us. Hiring Coach Jack as the women's basketball coach, I think, is a move that everybody likes. Brought her home. That's a good move. There were some other issues in women's basketball that we will get to momentarily. And obviously the national title in men's soccer, nice to have, right? Like, I'm glad we won the national title. This is not belittling anything, right? John Wildhack was not hired at Syracuse, right, with a primary goal of winning a national title in soccer, right? Like, it's prideful for the university, and I'm happy about that for our athletic department, but I can put that aside and look at a number of other things here and just where we've gotten to. And we can dive into it, right? So just off the top, we have been last in the ACC in football wins since 2016. Dead last. The only teams behind us are the teams that have just joined in the last 2 or 3 years. This has been the worst 10-year hoop stretch in 60 years. Our adoption of NIL has been delayed and frankly atrocious, particularly on the basketball side, right? We can go through a number of instances, but just starting off, Jesse Edwards, right? Couldn't figure out a way to retain him, couldn't figure out how to work it out with the chancellor. We've got to be better. Like, it's just, we were so slow. Then the following season, right, 24-25, we were woefully unprepared for what basketball costs, right? So we come in with a roster that is just not even competitive, right? We don't have a GM, which we had to hire in the season. We were in the back half of ACC teams to do that. Just delayed, reactive leadership from an NIL perspective in a sport that is the symbol of the university, right? The iconic program.
And in a time when things were really, really changing and it paid to be ahead of the ball, we were behind the curve, you know, like.
Exactly. And then just kind of going through some other things. Women's hoops. Coach Hillsman, successful coach, apparently was abusing his players, right? The entire team transferred. The Athletic writes a story on it. That eventually triggers an investigation. It was not a good situation for the university. There was never really any comments or transparency about the situation. It was a bad look, a really, really bad look. And then that was coupled with, I believe, the lacrosse scandal later that year where the kid was arrested for domestic abuse against, I believe, a women's lacrosse player and was allowed to play to the point his teammates, I think, walked off the field at a certain point. I don't need to expand on either of these situations. Like, this is not the symbol of the university, right?
That's
like,
not what, as alumni, that's not something we respect. That's not something we like. We hate seeing that at our university. We want to win, but we want to do it in a classy way at Syracuse.
Right. And then we kind of go down the list here, right? Boeheim's situation as it unfolds was just a complete debacle. And
clusterfuck.
And look, I know that there's information out there that this was not all Wildhack's call. That's a problem, though, right? Like, you need to get control of this situation. And it fumbled and spiraled out of control in a way that is just, it's indefensible when you are the head of the athletic department. Right? Like, it was an embarrassment how we handled the situation. I get that there were people not wanting to cooperate, but that's, again, his job, right? Like, I feel like it sounds like I'm being harsh, but it's what he signed up for when he took the job. Boeheim was in his late 60s. This was something that we knew we had to navigate. And so,
and sorry to interrupt you there, but like, it's not like he had to kick Boeheim out to hire somebody. Because he just was like, oh, you're there? Okay, you're next.
Right. And so we didn't run a process, and we land on Red, which there's debates about who even wanted Red to be the head coach, right? Rumors that wasn't even Boeheim's choice. And the whole thing is just, it was an embarrassing situation. That 24 hours was an embarrassing situation for Syracuse, and we hastily wound into this era.
And we're paying the price for it.
And just like a couple other just like random notes. How about LaQuint Allen almost getting kicked out of school, was kicked out of school, a situation that should have been handled, frankly. Like, that's a administrative issue between, I get that you don't want that to be a public thing, but the athletic department and the chancellor need to work that out, right? That became a storyline that like got wildfire. One of our buddies, Dermot, basically starts a petition that gets a few thousand signatures. The DA is chiming in on the situation. I mean, it was embarrassing, right? And like,
yeah, Dermot, don't forget Dermot, Trey's dad, saved us getting LaQuint Allen because of that petition. So credit to Dermot for the petition.
Totally. And so that's kind of my laundry list of things here. Not to mention, Syracuse lacrosse completely fell off a cliff during this tenure. We have gotten back the last couple of years. I'm happy to see that, but
not the dominant program it was.
It's not the dominant program it wasn't. But we were one of the two. We were the best program in the sport. Not even the two. It was us and Johns Hopkins. We were one of the two best programs in the sport.
We were the best. Fuck Johns Hopkins.
Like,
I mean, when we went to school, we were there. We used to be able to go to games. They would just kick the shit out of people.
And it's not the case, dude. And so I'm not sure what level of success we are trying to measure by. I don't see a single one that shows this as a good era, right? And to be honest with you, I can't find a way to say it's a decent era. Like, I just have seen atrophy across the programs. We're hoping for a Hail Mary with Fran. I have faith, I know you do too, that's a hire that will work out.
But Fran hired himself.
Right? And that story is as it's been retold by certain people, huh? Like, I don't know, man. I'm happy to be turning this page. I think this next hire's got to be a big one, and I know there's just some things that have been thrown out there about people maybe they're looking at. We got to nail this. We've absolutely got to nail this hire.
So then let's jump into that, because the most curious thing to me, and I hear your excitement that you're excited for Wildhack to go, and I agree. I don't like Wildhack. I don't think he's been a good AD. I'm happy to see him move on. I don't want another ESPN executive to come in and run things. ESPN is garbage. So why do we need their executive? They're not even doing a good job at ESPN. And now I think the most important thing is who's making this hire, because the curious thing to me and the thing that makes me upset about this is he's retiring in July. That's like the worst time for him to retire. We need to make a decision on our coach.
I agree.
And I don't think there's a way you can bring Red back.
I certainly hope not. I certainly hope not at this point. I agree with you. I think it does, if we're being honest, the way this is playing out, it raises the chances of that situation happening.
Big
Do you
time.
kind of agree? You have to agree, yeah. And so that's concerning mildly. I do not love the situation of Wildhack playing any role in hiring the next coach. I do not want that. The new AD should be picking the next basketball coach. It is the most important hire for the program.
It is Syracuse.
Judge on your job here. Yeah. I don't know. What are your thoughts?
Syracuse. So here's my thing. Syracuse isn't the type of school that can hire somebody and fire them after 2 years. Like, we're not that type of school. Like, we can't pay buyouts and shit like that. So we have to get the hires right. You know what I'm saying? Because we can't be firing guys and buying them out of a massive deal. And I don't know how you could bring back, and I don't know how you could sell to this fan base that Red's coming back for another year. I just don't think you can. So with all that said, here we are sitting in a moment where we don't know if Red's going to come back. If he doesn't come back and he does get fired, we don't know who's going to pick the coach. Is it going to be the AD who's going to leave 3 months later? Or is it going to be somebody behind the scenes? Is it going to be Alex Klein? Is it going to be, it can't even be the chancellor because we don't have one of those either. So it's like, we are in about as messy a situation as you could be. And, the one thing I'll say is, Wildhack, this is his alma mater. And I think you'd want to leave your alma mater in the best spot possible. And if he was going to retire, and this was always the plan, which it seems like it might be, or it seems like it kind of might not be. I don't know. I can't tell from that. But if this was always the plan, I don't know how they didn't announce this a long time ago and get somebody in there, even if Wildhack was going to stay on for a little bit in some sort of advisory role. I don't know how you didn't get somebody in there at this time now, so that if you had to make these big decisions, you have somebody in there to do that.
Yeah, my thought, and how I thought this, because I agree with you 1,000%. Like, is this the new chancellor basically saying, I want to pick my guy?
I hope so. I mean, that's fine, but
that, to me, that's at least a slight positive in this situation, because Kent did kind of leave somewhat abruptly, not abruptly, but that was announced during the year. And it's like, all right, if we decide on who the new chancellor is, and the chancellor's like basically gets voted in or decided, then he's basically like, yeah, we got to figure out the athletic department. And he basically goes, I need to pick my guy. And John, thank you for your time. You're going to retire and we're going to pick somebody. That's my optimistic point of view on this, honestly. And maybe just because the chancellor obviously hasn't been named yet, that we want Wildhack to stay on for a little while just to help a little transition or continuity. That makes some sense to me. That's the very optimistic point of view. But yeah, I have those same concerns you do, dude. I mean, this isn't probably the way you draw it.
Right. So I think the big thing is, like, do we hire somebody now to take over? Because I think that's our only way out of this, is that we hire somebody before he retires. There's a bit of a transition of power. There might be even a little bit of overlap between the two, and you end up with I don't know. You end up with I don't feel that positive about it, because I feel like we're relying on a level of execution that I haven't seen Syracuse pull off in a really, really long time. And this is going to require like a tightrope walk to pull this off, in my opinion. And I just don't know that we as a university have proven we can do that. But then again, we are cleaning house. So
again, I completely agree. Like, we're basically, my hope is built on, this is just a completely new set of people who are going to come in and do things differently. The rumors are that the new chancellor is going to support athletics. He's a fan. He wants to support, and that gives me optimism. And we'll see who they end up looking at. There's rumors that, like, there's the guy from Army, I think, who's an alum. I think played lacrosse at Syracuse potentially. That's interesting to me. Like, I think he's a younger guy in his 40s. Like, that'd be an interesting hire to me. So we'll see. I don't know. I don't want to get too far ahead of myself, because I don't know. I have no sense in this search, but I'm hopeful. If the new chancellor is going to embrace sports, he goes out and finds a guy.
But we have to figure out who the new chancellor is first. So
I think there's rumors that it's I think this guy Mike Haney. I think that's the rumor that's floating around the internet.
but we have to see who it is, and
Yeah.
until we know who it is, it leaves a bit of a sour taste in your mouth, I think, and it just leaves you wondering what is happening, what is coming.
A lot of change.
It's a lot of unknown is even worse. A change is great. Unknown is worse. Like that's where it is. It's we're gonna leave it here, right? We don't know if Fred's gonna get fired or not, but he should be. We don't know if this is really Wildhack even choosing to leave or if they're kind of forcing him out. We don't know if Wildhack's gonna be picking the next coach. We don't know who the next chancellor is yet. We don't know if we're gonna support athletics, and we kind of don't know what the future of our basketball program is going to look like, right? I think we talked about it yesterday. Like, what is Syracuse basketball? It used to be like the 2-3 zone. It used to be a place where we developed kids, where we brought in kids from all kinds of places, from all kinds of backgrounds. We brought in the Trevor Coonies and the Dion Waiters, and we had them blend together. And we had kids who were one and done like Carmelo Anthony, and we had kids who stayed for 5 years like CJ Fair and Brandon Trish, and developed over time. And we used to really stand for something we haven't in a decade in basketball. And what is it going to look like? As important as all the other stuff in the university is to me, the academics, the lifestyle, all that stuff, the basketball is very, very important to me as an alumni. And the chancellor needs to have a plan for how to get Syracuse basketball on the map. And it needs to be something that's important to them, because it's important to the people. It's important to the alumni. It's important to the people of Syracuse. It's important to the community in general. And that is something that Syracuse needs to really make sure they embrace.
It's like you said, dude, it's the city. The city relies on the basketball team being good, and it's the alumni base, it's the region. Like it's really important to the university. Like, it's not even just the university, like you're saying, right? Like,
it's not even just the city. It's all of upstate New York loves Syracuse basketball. How many people do we even have on Domed In being like, I'm from Albany, I love Syracuse, I'm from here, I love Syracuse. Like, when we went to the football game, there's people from Ottawa who make a yearly trip to come down to watch Syracuse football. Like, this shit has wide reach, and it's important.
Totally agree. And it's just been really disappointing to watch, frankly, and this comes, I think, from the chancellor, right? Just someone not recognize the importance of what it means to the community and the school. Like, Syracuse University is not the same without its sports lineage. It's simply not. Like, it is the most iconic thing about the school in the last 60 years, right? Like, it's your athletic prowess, it's your translation into media, right? Like, your top media school is built on sports broadcasting. Like, let's not forget it, right? And
let's not forget who was the first school to have, black people playing, prominently. Who was the first school to have a black person win the Heisman? Ernie Davis, Jim Brown, Floyd Little. These are important names, not only in the history of Syracuse, but the history of college football at large.
Country,
like breaking barriers.
And it's just been sad. It's been sad to kind of see it just, again, deteriorate to the point where, it's been hard to care, right?
Hard to care. We're doing this during a Syracuse game, by the way, 35-35 at half.
And I don't know, like, we feel it, right? We're going back up there in about a week and a half to go to a game, go to the UNC game, and we can feel it in our friends. Like, they're not very excited.
We're dragging them with us. And I feel terrible about it because I did this early in the year when I thought they were still going to be good, and we're dragging them up there, and it's always fun to go up there. It always is, because the university is beautiful, and we love going up to our university no matter what. But man, is it so much more fun when the games are cool and the games are intense. And I'm bringing Mason for the first time, my son, and it kind of sucks. Like, I want Syracuse to be good because if they suck, he's not going to be interested in going to Syracuse. And if they're sick, he's going to want to watch every game and go to the games in the dome. And that's going to be something that's like makes or breaks, big parts of my life, right? And like, I want Syracuse to be a big part of my life. Obviously, me and my wife met there. We both love the university. We want it to be a big piece of our lives. And we want our kids to like going up there. And our kids are going to like it a hell of a lot more if the sports are good.
Yeah, much easier sell, it just hurts to hear it spelled out that way, but that's why it's just so critical that we transition into this new era and find our footing, man. We got to get this thing back on the right path. And look, it's unknown. You say unknown, I say hope, right?
Could go either way.